Hey guys, NJ here. So today we're looking at a new GEPRC frame. This is the Cygnet 3, and I guess it's more of that breakout of micro class to 3-inch quadcopter than the traditional 3-inch that most of us are used to, with the larger shaft, bigger props, bigger motors, and tend to weigh a bit more. This is more akin to the 2.5-inch class of quadcopter, and thus it weighs very little, but it is a running 3-inch props. It's running these Avan 3-inch props, which I'm quite a fan of. They perform really nicely. More exciting for me was the fact that they were running with these 1206 stator motors, and we've been running with 1106 for quite a long time, certainly on the 2.5-inch class of quadcopter, and I've always thought really the 1206 is kind of the sweet spot, certainly if you're going to be running with 3-inch props. And I know a lot of the 3-inch models are still kind of stuck on that 1106 stator, so yeah, I was very excited to give this a go. The spec certainly had my head turned. It comes with the micro, this is the Runcam split V2, but it's, well, the V2, kind of the V3, although they didn't officially announce they were doing this or even call it a V3. But what they've done here is they've used the bigger M12 lens, which solves a lot of problems with jello that the split before it, that was also called the split V2, had. So it's good to see that on there, and it's quite a short lens as well, which is great for running in frames like this. You'll see you've got this lovely anodized aluminium cage at the front. You've also got the same at the back. Running on 3mm top and bottom plates. You've got a unibody for the arms, which works absolutely fine. It's nice and tough and light, so nice big thick strong top plate there as well. So structurally it feels really solid in the hands. You'll also see in this aluminium cage at the front that you've got this ability to move that camera back and forward a fair amount. So as well as setting an angle here which could almost go 90 degrees if you wanted to, you can move this back further in should you want to get a little more front protection if you're racing or whatever, whatever your purpose. For me, obviously it's going to be for freestyle. And yeah, you've got the standard thing with the Runcam split, which is you have various options with that. I have gone through those in a previous video, so I probably won't go through those today, but it's a fairly versatile camera, and you can choose from the kind of the fairly fish-eyed wide field of view, a medium and a narrow field of view for your HD video. You can go with whichever you feel will suit your flying or the footage that you want to then use. Because I'm a fan of the GoPro Super View, that was kind of my favourite, and the thing I'd like to mimic the most. I'll be recording this with the nice widest field of view. So you can see the split board is in there, and again, because of the kind of the geometry of this, well, hang on. To talk about this properly, the geometry is the same as you get on a true, not a true X, but an X that's been squished. So obviously the distance between the props here and here is larger to accommodate for the body, but between here and here is much closer. So it's kind of a squished X is the way I think of it. But it doesn't matter how the arms connect to the motors. They could, the arms could come straight out the front, curl back. As long as they come to this point, this is the geometry. That's all that actually matters. So it doesn't matter that it's sort of closer to an H style frame. It's still geometrically doing the same things as a lot of the similar squished X frames, so no problem with that at all. And in fact, it makes it nice and easy to get to all your buttons and bits for the split at the front. And then if we spin this round, you'll see on the back here you've got the retaining lug there for the SD card in place. That'll stop the SD card popping out in a hard crash. You've got GEP's stable F4 tower in there, which is this guy. It has a VTX which will do a pit mode, and the pit mode does work absolutely fine, does what it's supposed to. 25, 100 and 200 milliwatts. It's got an IPEX connector and this nice chunky pagoda that's stubby and nice and lightweight. It always annoys me when you get things like this and then they pack in an antenna that's not appropriate for the size of the quad. So putting in a pagoda with a stalk this long is obviously a stupid idea. So it's nice they paid attention to doing that, and it's just got heat shrink around it for a little bit of protection. That's quite thick and a little bit sort of has a little bit of dampening to it, which is nice. Not wrapping that in TP obviously. because that will affect your video signal. There is, just as with the Sparrow, not the Sparrow, am I talking about the GEPRC Phoenix, which is another one I reviewed that I liked a lot. It's got this clear TPU, sort of clear, clouded kind of clear TPU. And you can see just behind it, you've got the LED blocks back there. I think there are 4 LEDs, but it illuminates the whole block, which looks fantastic. In fact, if I just drop in a LiPo quickly to show you that. There you go, you can see straight away that you get nice illumination from that. And you'll also hear there is a buzzer, and where they've located that is in the same TPU block. You might have noticed that if you were looking around it there. They've stuck that in the side, great place for it, out the way, and nicely placed. I'm a real big fan of that idea. And over on the other side, they've done exactly the same with the hole cut out, but this time for the low ESR capacitor that is helping choke some of that back EMF noise, so that's great. Onto the rest of the stack, we've got an F4 STM 405 Omnibus F4 OSD target, I think. I might have just got that completely wrong. I've been looking at so many quads lately, but I think that's what it is. But it is, I do know it's running the MPU 6000, which is absolutely the best choice for quads down at this size, highest noise rejection. It is an F4 chip, and beneath that we've got a 4x20 amp up to 4S capable D-Shot 600 ESC in that stack. So really that's kind of everything you need. And I know some people say is 20 amps enough. I mean, this thing weighs nothing, and I have tested it, I've flown it, and I've absolutely ragged the life out of it. And it was the same with the Phoenix, and they all handled the high current batteries with absolutely no problem at all. So I've got no reason not to have faith in them using exactly the same stack as they did in the Phoenix. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. That's kind of all the main things covered. What can I say about the flight footage? Well, I'm going to roll that in a sec. Normally my videos would be a lot longer because I have an awful lot more to complain about. The only thing that I really have to say is there's a distinct lack of UARTs on this. So it does have smart audio, which is because it's all stacked in, stacking one on top of another, and they're interconnecting with blocks. All of that is kind of pre-wired, so the smart audio is taken up. You can run S-Bus, PPM, or DSMX, that's not a problem, but you don't have a breakout UART that I can see. There's certainly nothing that alludes to that in the instruction manual, but there is a possibility. I was chatting with Andy RC about this, and we were kind of going through all the potential spots where there might be some way that we could get, if I wanted to wire something like the TBS Crossfire on here. I mean, what I don't want to resort to is soldering onto the legs of that STM chip, because that's the easiest way to get to the UARTs. But, well, it's the easiest way, it's the most direct way. But unfortunately, that requires soldering under a microscope, and you've got to have damn steady hands. Otherwise, you end up soldering pins on your microchip together, and then have a very bad time. But I think I found a point. There's a couple of pads on there that aren't labelled, but I've got a feeling those are going to carry the spare UART that is available in the port section on Betaflight. So I will report back on that. But if there's one criticism for me, it's really that there isn't a couple more UARTs, because the controller can definitely offer them. It's just not, they haven't chosen to break them out into pads on the flight controller itself. I'm fairly sure there might be one, but I'll report back on that later. It comes with a whole load of stuff in the box, just like all GEPRCs, loads of spares. It comes with a couple of different foamy bits to put on the underside. You've got a rubber section you can put on the top here, which will grip the battery, though I don't think you need that, because it does come with 2 battery straps, decent long battery straps, and when they go through and it's tightened down on the battery, that thing absolutely doesn't budge. So honestly, why add weight, why add a grip section there when you don't really need it? And you're also raising the height of the battery and pulling it away from the center of gravity, so I just feel like it's something you don't need to do. You can also run the battery on the top or the bottom, but I do recommend running it on the top. Here's the batteries that I've been using with this, because if you look, that's kind of working perfectly towards the center of gravity there. If you look at the prop line, that's pretty much perfect. You've got weight above the prop line, weight below the prop line, so that is where you want to run it. And it's also great because obviously when you land, you're never squashing your battery. If you land flat in a hard hit, you're not squashing your battery. It's generally speaking, I find that a better place to run it. And Yeah, it feels nice for freestyle too. So yeah, I think I've pretty much covered all the things when it comes to this particular model. But what I am going to say is, before I run this flight footage, this is without question, of all the 3-inch quads I've flown, and I've flown quite a few, the absolute best in terms of flying like a big 5-inch. It was just on rails. These 1206 motors are perfectly matched, and I mean perfectly, with these props. It's out the box, just perfect. The PIDs were great. The version of Betaflight, everything worked in absolute harmony. There were lots of things that get on my nerves that they don't add, like arming angle of 180 degrees so that you can right it and flip it back the right way. All things like that are set up. They've just put some thought into setting it up for you. As I said, the PIDs were great. Everything just worked wonderfully, and it flew like an absolute demon. When you open the taps, I mean, this flight I was mainly doing a load of acro, but there is one particular point where you see me tilt it forward and just open the taps up, and you'll see how fast it moves when it wants to. The power is fantastic. The battery I used, just quickly, was 650 milliamp 75C AC pack. Fantastic on that, and with that, the battery straps all up, flying weight 225 grams. That is just magic, under that 250 mark. And I did try it out with my Ready Eddy 850 milliamp 4S, and that just crept in under 250, and it also performed great. So really, you've got a little bit of range there to work with for the battery that you wish to choose. So yeah, let's roll the flight footage, but I will say this on my parting thoughts: this is absolutely a brilliant quadcopter. It ticks all the boxes apart from that little niggle that I talked about, which was the lack of UART breakout, but everything else is an absolute plus for me. And the HD footage is great, performs great, flies great. A beautiful build. It's strong. It's without a doubt, this is getting an NJ Gold Award and a high recommendation if you want a light, capable 3-inch quadcopter that's fantastic out the box and will acro like a Don. This one is the one to go for, and I will be giving this a hell of a lot of use. So I'll roll that. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I shall see you guys all in the next one.